ようこそどうぞはじめまして
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. We have taken a break from watching EVO and playing Fire Emblem Three Houses to talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses.
So anime.
Yes, the best anime of 2019. So we'll get into that in a moment. But just to introduce everybody before we get started, I am your host, Jel. We have along with me today, Iro.
Hi, I am going Blue Lion's route for Fire Emblem.
Okay, yeah, let's just get that out of the way. Declare your allegiances on the introduction. We have G.
Everybody's talking about what king to support, what empire to see through to the end. But instead of one a tyrant, have you ever considered the alternate political system of an oligarchy or a collection of smaller petty tyrants? Because sometimes in the time and age you live in, that is the closest thing you have to resembling an actual democracy.
All right. Well, are you trying to tell us?
Obvious.
Yeah.
Golden Deer, all the way.
All right. And we have also with us today, Chris.
Hello, I'm back to ruin your podcast. Also, Black Eagles hype.
I have, being the supreme emperor of GLORIO and, having my autocratic tendencies, I've also joined the the Black Eagles.
As you would.
Yes, so we'll get into some Fire Emblem chat in a bit, but yeah, so this is actually our first quote unquote normal episode of the GLORIO Chat of the season. So if anyone's wondering what our plans are, we are actually watching some anime this season, unlike last season. So
crazy.
we'll have some anime to talk about, but I was enjoying doing kind of the news and other topics at the top of the show. So I want to keep that in there as well. So we're gonna kind of keep to the freestyle format here of covering that and but we do have more actual anime to talk about on the back end as well. So let's get started. As far as news goes, I did want to come back around to what has been the biggest news story in the anime world for the past couple of weeks. As far as the situation with Kyoto Animation. So this Thursday, the police released 10 of the names of the victims. They had been waiting for permission from the families and making sure that was all clear. So we have 10 of the names, and I wanted to just kind of walk through and just mention them so that they all deserve to be acknowledged and, just mentioned for their contributions. And there's a couple of them specifically I wanted to talk about. So, sorry guys, I did not put the list in the notes, but I'll just kind of read them off here. We'll start with, Futoshi Nishiya, who was, a character director and worked as chief animation director on some of their other projects, but he did character design on like Free and Hyoka and a lot of their other series, including like the most common, not common, including the critically acclaimed recent movies with Silent Voice and Liz and the Bluebird. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a lot of recognizable work from as far as the anime character designs go on that. That's just like all of these are just big losses, and I'm trying to focus on, I guess, on the positive aspects of the work these people have done, but it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard to get through without kind of thinking about how just tragic this whole situation is. But yeah, so we had Futoshi Nishiya, as mentioned. There was Yoshiji Kigami, who was a longtime industry veteran had before the Kyoto Animation days had worked on like as a key animator on like Akira, Grave of the Fireflies. They mentioned Space Adventure Cobra, some things you may have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And his role at Kyoto Animation was primarily working as like a mentor and teacher in their internal training program. And he must have been doing a good job because they've had so much talent coming out of that studio. But he's also worked on in other areas, helping out in other areas as needed. I want to personally shout out the because this is the first time I remember hearing his name. Was he did the running scene in Sound Euphonium episode 12 where Kyoko is like running around the corner. That was like a famous shot that's like extremely well animated. I know a lot of the shots I've seen from him there's a lot of like complex running and walking scenes and stuff like that. But yeah, just another big loss. Some of these other ones, just going down the list, Junichi Uda, who worked as a key animator, Sachi Suda, who worked in Finnish animation, Mikiko Watanabe, who served as art director and background artist on many of the productions, which, I feel like, maybe background art doesn't always get as much credit, but, when it comes to like the technical quality on Kyoto Animation, they don't like skimp on anything, right? And like I've always been impressed with their background work, and she was responsible for a lot of that.
She had like a big hand in Violet Evergarden as well, which is, regardless of what you say about that show, it's pretty stunning. So
yes. As far as the art direction is concerned, yeah, like Violet Evergarden, Beyond the Boundary, also visually stunning. And then we have Yuki Omura and Yuka Kasama, who were both brand new hires. I mean, that's kind of the toughest one to read, to be honest. And then Ami Kuriki, who worked as a key animator on some of their more recent stuff. And Keisuke Yokoda, who worked as production manager on many of their projects. And then I wanted to mention last, because it's kind of the most recognizable name and probably the most I had to say, was Yasuhiro Takemoto, who is, between him and Ishihara, they were the two main directors for Kyoto Animation when they were moving over into becoming like their own main lead production studio back in the early 2000s. And between the both of them, they have like they basically established what we know Kyoto Animation as today, as far as like their house style. And I don't want to paint with like super broad brush here, but like I always thought of it as like Ishihara bringing sort of the more kind of wacky comedy element stuff to it, whereas Takemoto, I feel a lot of his style is what established what is arguably KyoAni's like most recognizable trait, the sort of like slow, subtle, nuance stuff that they have in their works. And I mean, you just look at his, his resume. He did both of the Full Metal Panic series that KyoAni did. He saved Lucky Star. He did some of their most beautiful stuff. So like they had like the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, their first movie, the Hyoka, which for my money is one of the most beautiful television anime ever made, and Ms. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, which again is just visually fantastic and well directed.
I mean, sorry if you'll allow me to interrupt real quick.
No, go ahead, G.
I mean, just listing all the works you just did, I think really speaks to like the diversity of like aesthetics that like he could so like capably handle. I mean,
Yeah.
Very few artists out there are. I mean, it's already the sign, I think, of a great artist who can, master one aesthetic, but to be able to like go from something as niche as like the like really high quality hand drawn mecha animation of Full Metal Panic to to Lucky Star to, as you said, Hyoka and Dragon Maid. It I think people have kind of know I've never like really quite gelled with KyoAni's creative outputs, but I've always kind of respected the like technical artistry that that studio could bring to the table, and Takamoto was kind of the embodiment, I think, of a lot of that. I think.
Yeah, definitely. He had so much to do with establishing their style in those earlier days and and onward. So I mean that's just a huge loss for them, for the animated industry, and just just tragic all around. But
yeah,
and I'm trying to stay positive, but it's hard to even think about this as only 10 of the names. But
yeah, I mean it's less than a third, and it's just awful to even consider. Like you think about how deep of a tragedy is just listing out these 10 names, and then the fact there are as of this reporting now another 25. Like it's unthinkable in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So again,
I think it's kind of a cold comfort, that I think the support for the studio has been so.
Yes, there's been a
positive. I think
tremendous amount of support. A lot of the official channels for showing like financial support have opened up, and there's been millions of dollars raised to support the families, and including the CEO of KyoAni like just put a bank account number out there and said you can just send it directly here.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, I mean that is a kind of a positive take out of this, and again we can only hope that the victims' families and everyone can find a way to keep moving forward. So all right, not again, like we said last week, not a good way to transition out of this, so let's just move along on to the other topic we wanted to talk about today.
Just shift gears.
Yeah. All right. So
there's no easy way to do it. So
yeah, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and keep moving here. The other thing we wanted to talk about before we get to the anime, as we mentioned, is we had the release of Fire Emblem Three Houses. That it's been more than a week, right? Like I'm trying to remember exactly when it came out.
I don't know.
6th, 5th, end of July.
A week.
Yeah.
Okay,
a week-ish.
It's been like
it doesn't feel like it's been a week.
I know, right?
This game is so long.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. I work 40 hours a week, and I'm at 35 hours, so it's almost become my second job in the past week.
Well, teaching is a hard job.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
We'll take care of those children, if not you.
Yeah.
The children are going to be all right, and it's up to us to guide them in the right direction.
Yeah, so this is the Switch. It's a Switch release, so we've moved on from the GBAs following it, or not GBA. the 3DS.
It's been a few years.
The 3DS ones.
Yes.
And this one was This one I guess was co-developed with Koei Tecmo. Is that?
I believe that's the case.
Which I did not know coming into it, and
same.
And it was funny because I think one of the weaknesses of the game is like some of the background art and stuff.
Oh yeah, this game kind of looks like fucking shit.
Yeah,
it's not.
I was like, this doesn't seem like Nintendo's normal standards, and I'm like, these look like backgrounds from a Dynasty Warriors game, and then I was like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean.
So
It's definitely the one weak part of that game, but I think otherwise, I think all of us here are kind of in agreement that.
So I just want to say first, like for me personally, like the first like hour or so of the game does not make a very strong impression. Like between like the technical quality and some of the stuff that goes down, I'm like, so like I was actually questioning, did I make a mistake in paying $60 for this or whatever? But once it gets going and sinks its teeth into you, it's pretty good.
That game doesn't let go afterward.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. If you think about, I mean, it feels like, so I don't have like a ton of Fire Emblem experience, but it feels like there's it almost doesn't feel like a Fire Emblem game in that I feel like at least 50% of the game is running around talking to people and not so much doing the talking on the battlefield.
I think this game proves my thesis that you could take the like gameplay format of the Persona series and apply it to multitude of genres and have it turn out pretty well.
I mean, I'm still waiting for my Mass Effect spin-off about Garrus's seasick adventures on the Citadel that is in a Persona format. You know, just
Well, if you have
arrests lead to intimacy.
Christ.
Yeah, I suppose it is almost. I mean, aside from the actual like fighting part, like the format is much more like a Persona game than a Fire Emblem game. There's a lot of running around school, talking to people and giving them things and spending, and you have to manage your time and all that. I guess the difference is there's like, I don't even know how many social links. I still don't know all the characters, if we're being honest.
I'm now at the point where, like, if you say somebody's name, I can generally tie a face to it. But there are a lot of characters in that game, you know, and I think, you know, so for people who are not familiar with the game, Fire Emblem Three Houses, kind of the basic like structure of it is kind of I mean, this is reductive, but it is sort of a Harry Potter Hogwarts style like academy where you basically become the professor of one of the three houses, and each house has, I think, 8 students, and I think that this format actually works surprisingly well, because, like, in past Fire Emblem games, you would eventually recruit, you know, essentially a veritable army of named, you know, unique units. And I think kind of starting you out with a house of a limited number, you can eventually recruit students from other houses, but at the beginning, it's you, the professor, and, you know, your gaggle of students. And I think personally for me, it does a really good job of, at least in my playthrough where I'm playing Golden Deer, endearing you to those students, you know, and they're, you know, they're kind of very like specific types of anime archetypes. I know that in my experience, I went into Golden Deer kind of like thinking, all right, like some of these guys look like fucking goobers, but also Leone is on this team, so I guess this is where I'm going. But I think it does something cool. Like, I think this happened kind of naturally. Like, it never felt forced. But just, like, over the course of, like, the dozens of hours I played, I was like, you know what? I love all you kids equally. Like, you're all right. You know? Like...
Your house doesn't have fucking Felix and Sylvain in it.
That's true. My house does not have a bunch of... I mean, my house has Lorenz, so, like, let's not get it twisted. Well, like...
Okay, I admit I've not interacted much with Lorenz, being Blue Lions, but is he as a grade like double plus asshole as
No. So I mean, I think the difference between Lorenz and like guys like Felix and Sylvain is that like Lorenz is more of a comically ineffectual creep than like an actual like creep or an asshole, and so it kind of defames him a fair amount. But also, like, even him, like, I was totally ready to be like, oh man, dude, you gotta fuck off. Like, I don't want to deal with you at all. But like, over the course of that game, I was like, you know what? This kid's learning. He was at the beginning of this game, he was a kid. He was a child. He didn't understand like how the world worked or how relationships work or like how common decency works. But like, over the course of like my tutelage and like interacting with other students, both noble and commoner alike, you know, he's growing into like a well-rounded young man. And I'm, you know, I was so surprised that Lorenz would end up being one of like my personal standouts in my class. I think all of his A rank supports are actually surprisingly really sweet and kind of sincere. Like, I feel like, you know, I have saves come to see different A rank supports because that is the kind of person I am, and like it's kind of weird that like the same supports that like Lorenz has with a character that Claude might, like Claude's are still very like jokey and like kind of unpersonal or impersonal, whereas like Lorenz kind of like fully puts his whole heart out there in a way that I'm like, damn kid, all right, you're like, you learned something over the past year. Like, I'm proud of you, kid. And like, you know, even the rest of my house, like, you know, I got this dude in my house named Raphael. He's like a commoner dude. He's the one who's like so buff that his shirt doesn't fit him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the shirt is like just stretching around his barrel-chested like torso.
Yes.
And every single fucking support conversation with that dude is gold. Like, he might be the closest this game has to like a Donald-like character, where every support with him is like, now I'm just a folksy commoner with my common sense wisdom, but I think, and then like manages to teach the uppity noble an important lesson about friendship or classism or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I think
it's been really entertaining.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention, I think it's pretty neat. I feel like they didn't just dump high school kids and give them, you know, Renaissance fair clothes. Like they actually, like, a lot of the supports and like storylines are taking into consideration like the medieval setting. Like a lot of the girls are concerned about getting married off for political reasons. That would be a realistic concern, right? For that type of setting. I mean, it's not like a real medieval setting, but it's a lot of the same kind of
anime medieval setting,
right? A lot of
people wear the fancy clothes but don't have to worry about like internal plumbing or electricity.
Right.
So.
You know, and a lot of the kids in this academy are, you know, are part of some kind of royal house or something that, you know, they have, you know, their concerns about, you know, their obligations for that, you know, how that impacts them, how it's already impacted them. A lot of them, you know, they get like discarded from their families because, you know, they don't, you know, have political value or whatever. So I appreciate it, but their personalities are still like kind of like normal kids, right? But they're taking into account the setting into their backstory. I think
they do like a pretty decent job of fleshing out these characters, bearing in mind you get like very short bursts of like 5 to 10 sentences at a time.
Yeah.
So like, it is kind of astonishing how many of the characters in that game you get to learn a lot about, like how they would actually feel in particular scenarios. I will say though that as a Black Eagles player, that Hubert is irredeemable trash, and
yes,
really I've heard
that
people,
is
like, start to really come around on Hubert.
No,
but I don't know. Those are just people who are like too into like shipping him with Ferdinand together. So
you got to you got to raise an eyebrow if anybody is defending Hubert. I think
it's everyone picking Black Eagles. Like literally everyone outside of this crew I've spoken to about that game has picked Black Eagles.
I mean, I don't mean to use this term in a derogatory manner, but let's be real. Black Eagles is the normie house. I mean,
the fucking cops.
Yeah, like it is A, literally the cops, and I say that with a capital L. They are B, the house, also with a capital H, you know, the establishment, the man, all with capital letters. And they're also the waifu house. You know, Petra, Bernadetta,
we do have
face Dorothea.
We do have. Well, before we get into the waifus, Chris, why did you pick Black Eagles? Because I think you started before any of us, right?
Yeah, because I was going to play as a female main character, and there are 2 lesbian options in that group. So,
all right,
got it.
You can romance Edelgard.
Sure. Yeah, that feels like a legitimate choice. Then, sure,
right, sure.
Oh yeah. Did you guys pick the male or female MC?
I picked a male character.
I picked male. Okay, I was gonna do Nukem Plus.
Okay, yeah. The rest of us picked
with Lady Bila.
Yeah. Yeah. I just picked them because I felt like it was, you know, joking about the authoritarian stuff aside. I thought it sounded like it was going to be a more interesting story. Like I wasn't like I was like because they kind of give you hints that like Black Eagles is like the Empire. The blue lions are like the goody two shoes, holy kingdom, whatever, and
also the racists,
right? And then like the golden deer are like the fun ones, right? So.
See, like everybody keeps like. Here's the thing. I don't. You're not like wrong to a certain extent. A lot of the Golden Deer's appeal is kind of like the very like sincere heart that house has because of its like noble, like it's very high noble commoner mix. So you have a lot, So like a lot of the concerns in that house and the support conversations are not. I mean, there is still that whole like alliance politics stuff, but then there's also a lot of just like, hey. What are like the concerns of the common people are going to inherently be like not less significant but like smaller in scale. Now that said, everybody keeps characterizing it as like like Blue Lions is like the goody two shoes house, like Black Eagles are the real heroes of the story, and then like Golden Deer are Hufflepuff. But like
they're the party animals.
But let me fucking tell you, I am in the like post time skip like. Part of the Golden Deer's route.
Spoilers, there's a time skip.
Yes, let me tell you, like, that route ain't light anymore. That route is now, like, the Golden Deer's coming to the horrifying realization that they are the only sane people left on this continent.
Yeah, well, before we get into too many spoilers here, I will just say, as far as picking the Black Eagles, like, so if that's kind of the general impression that I got in the beginning, whether that ends up being accurate or not, I was like, well, okay, so if me as ostensibly a good guy, coming into this
with all those qualifications,
yes, from what again, this is good. I knew nothing about this game coming into it. I played it started completely blind. So just starting because you get like a little prologue and you kind of like get 2 seconds to meet the characters and everything, and then you have to kind of make a decision. So just based on the limited information I had, I'm like, okay, so if I'm supposedly supposed to be a good guy, or I'm assuming as the player character you have the option to be a good guy, like what's going to happen if I join the Empire? Like I felt like that was going to be an interesting story. So that's kind of
you're an internal reformer.
Well, let me change things from the inside, right? But
because that
always works. It's always an effective.
Yes, I will join the jackboot fascists because I believe that after a couple decades of genocide and warmongering, that I'll be able to fix the system.
Yeah,
and that will justify and invalidate the decades of widespread suffering caused by my hand.
Sure. So yeah,
point. Edelgard has a bad childhood.
I think. Yeah. I mean, spoilers. I think all three of them.
That
at least people have heard.
But I mean, it does make everything.
I think every character in this game has a pretty bad childhood, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes. I will leave it at that.
So, the real answer, of course, why everybody picks Black Eagles is because they have the best waifus, though. So.
Yeah, and I've poached them all to my house. So.
Exactly. I same it here. You know what? Everybody's like, oh, Bernadetta, I love her fucking anxious millennial energy. Well, guess what? Now she can channel all that anxious millennial energy amongst all of these like smaller nobles and commoners that won't judge her for it. So
yeah. Exactly. Totally.
So I guess that does lead to the broader question, though. Then who are the best waifus and husbandos? Who's everybody
tough?
Who's everybody picking? Because honestly, I haven't even
working on it.
Yeah. What?
Shoutouts to the adult women in the cast, the knights, Shamir and Catherine.
They're
seem pretty cool. Yes. Like talk to Shamir, and she says she loves being a knight because she can punch as many nobles as she wants.
Yes, very good.
It's like, yeah, all right.
I have a soft spot for kind of Manuela just constantly channeling that like low-key Kawakami energy of just like being a teacher, but also completely not having her life together in the slightest.
Hot mess.
Yes, just a very hot mess. Again, like I joked, or I was like half joking before, but like. At least in Golden Deer House, like, I'm not gonna like, or I don't even have the option to pursue them romantically, but like Lorenz and Raphael kind of weirdly ended up being the standouts of Golden Deer, at least like personality wise and like character growth wise. I think Leone is great. She's a fantastic unit. Y'all ever want a fucking Falcon Knight with a defense of 23? Let me introduce you to Leone. But personality-wise, all of her support conversations are kind of samey, regardless of who she supports.
I mean, she'd rather bone your dad than you.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I got from our support combos. Is like, well, Teach, I'm basically just kind of projecting my affections for your dad onto you, and it's like, this is taking a direction.
Chris, since you're also farther along, probably about as far along as G, what waifu or husbando did you end up going with?
I will caveat this first by saying that the only character that wasn't a teacher that I recruited was Sylvain, because he apparently just joined you regardless.
He fucking would. That fucking dirtbag. If you're playing as female Byleth, he will join you without a fight.
Yes, which is very funny to me.
Of course he would. That piece of shit.
It's in character.
So I, outside of the Black Eagles, I don't really know what everyone's social links are, because even Sylvains have remained in the dark, because I'm just not using him.
All right.
But within Black Eagles, it would be like a toss-up between Bernadetta and Petra. Bernadetta is, as cliche as a lot of her stuff is, she has a pretty interesting backstory once you get into it. But,
That's a way to put
it. They do attempt to explain why she is the way she is. But yeah, Petra's pretty rad.
Shout out to Dorothea's contempt for the nobility.
Yes. Dorothea is, has some pretty good roasts on the nobles in a lot of her support.
I think one of my favorite supports so far was Dorothea with Ferdinand, and Ferdinand's trying to figure out, why do you hate me so much? Because Ferdinand's like, nobles are great. We're going to help everybody. And so Dorothea is constantly annoyed with him. And so he's trying to figure it out. And he's like, one of the supports, he comes back later and is like, I figured it out. And he's like, and she's like, oh, so did you renounce your title and give up all your money? And he's like, no, I baked cookies.
We joke, but that is channeling a lot of Mittermeier energy. Right there.
Well, we could probably go on a whole tangent about the the Legend of Galactic Heroes parallels we've established.
Yes.
But the Black Eagles waifu game is strong. Not so much on the husbando end, though.
Sorry, what, Chris?
They all kind of suck.
Yeah,
all
the dudes in the.
I recruited Caspar, and some of his support conversations are pretty entertaining, if just in the anime meathead way. But I will agree that
you don't want to hook up with Caspar, though.
No, Caspar is cool, but he's your cool little brother. You don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's an idiot, but he is an idiot in the way that I can enjoy, because at least he's not a creep.
I'm gonna shout out Dedu, who is just your dutiful husbando who cooks and sews.
He also likes to garden.
Indeed. He's also a racial minority, and almost everyone in the house hates him for being black.
Basically, yes. It's based on what you described about Dedu's support conversations. I feel like I'm certainly curious to see some of that for myself if I ever do a Blue Lions run.
I mean, from what I can tell, if I were to theoretically say do a New Game Plus with the female main character, I'd probably go after Dimitri. Just saying, but
he is a hot noble. He's a nice guy,
hot nice guy with the seething angst that's ready to explode at any.
When you at
some point.
Still wondering that, still waiting for that.
If you want,
Felix takes the side and is
I'd be into that.
Don't be fooled by his princeliness. He's a wild animal.
Yes, if you want your full Otome healing route, I hear that Female Byleth with Dimitri is the way to go for that.
Oh, Christ.
So,
I should also say that if you're playing Black Eagles, like male or female, the only correct answer is Dorothea, even though I didn't name her earlier. Everyone else is whatever.
Dorothea is pretty great.
Yeah, no, yeah. Dorothea is top tier. I'm
the dudes
sad
will suck, and Dorothea deserves it.
She loses the hat in the time skip, which I think is deeply unfortunate.
Oh, you spoiled the entire game for me now, G. I don't even want to play.
Totally, man.
I'm sorry, Jell. There's no reason for you to keep playing.
I'm just gonna delete my save now.
Yeah, there's no reason to keep playing your Black Eagles route because Dorothea loses the hat, and after that, what's the point?
There's no reason to live. All right, yeah. So I mean, I'm actually surprised how much I'm enjoying it, which I don't know why, because I've enjoyed the previous Fire Emblems I've played. I haven't played a lot. I've only played one of the GBA ones and then Awakening. But I mean, this feels like, I don't know, G, do you have any feel for like how I know the old school Fire Emblem fans have long kind of accepted their fate on the turn Fire Emblem has taken, but like, is this like an even further turn away? Because I feel like it's both a further turn away from the old stuff with like a more emphasis on the dating sim thing, but also mechanically, I feel like it's more complex than Awakening was. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mean to speak for the entire old school Fire Emblem fan base here. Of course, as always, fan bases are always going to be divided on this thing, but I would actually say that for the most part, I think the fan base is actually taking quite well to Three Houses. For a lot of people, actually, they're kind of seeing certain aspects of Three Houses. We talk about how it is getting further away from like what OG Fire Emblem is, but I would also actually say compared to Fates and Awakening to a lesser extent, that Three Houses is actually kind of a return to form in a couple of key areas. I'm not going to try and explain the entire reason for the resentment against Fates, but generally the issue old school fans had with Fates, I think most old school fans were fine with Awakening. Like, they didn't perhaps love it, but they did like, a lot of the new ideas it introduced. I think the problem people had with Fates is that it took a lot of what Awakening did and pushed it even further in that direction. Like, because I think, Fates kind of just doubled down on Awakening, right? More matchmaking, more baby making, all that stuff, right? And, combined with like the like not very well written story, not to say that like Fire Emblem games have ever been like paragons of narrative, but Fates was like particularly poorly written.
I mean, I'm enjoying this one. I mean,
yeah. And so I think Three Houses, like, one of the important things I think it does do is, like, the relationships are important, but they are not important in the like immediacy of the game. Like when you hit A rank with 2 students, they don't immediately like pop out a kid who shows up in a portal. Like,
right.
Like the and because they're not all like explicitly romantic, I think there is more variety in the support conversations in Three Houses. Like, the problem, I think, like, Awakening like started this but wasn't egregious, then Fates kind of went full in on this, is that like there was a pressure that, because every single like opposite gender a support conversation has to end in a kid coming out, like they had to be explicitly romantic, right? No matter what the 2 characters' personalities were, it eventually had to turn into like, let's make babies,
right?
But because Three Houses doesn't have that emphasis, I've seen some of the A rank supports, both between like 2 male characters, 2 female characters, or like opposite genders, and like they're still close, they're still intimate in the way in some ways, but it's not intimate in the way that like those older games were, right? It's more like a lot of them are more like a deep friendship, or like a mutual caring for each other, that could eventually turn into romance someday, but like,
right,
not in the moment. And I think that aspect actually has been working out really well. In terms of the battles, I think that this game has introduced some fun new mechanics, like the battalion system, that have like introduced some new interesting mechanical complexities to Fire Emblem's battles. I would say overall, like, I think this is the take that I have that I think does mirror like a lot of the Fire Emblem like kind of quote unquote hardcore fan base, is that Three Houses is a really, really neat, novel take on the series, and I do hope that future Fire Emblems take inspiration from it. I think the thing we would not want, however, is like literally just another Fire Emblem that takes place in a school. But like, if the next Fire Emblem takes lessons from Three Houses, like if the next Fire Emblem is also about like warring factions that you have to choose sides between, or like there is still that like management sim aspect of it, but maybe doesn't take place explicitly at a school.
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting direction to go. I think the worry is just that like the mistake Fates made is like it was literally just kind of a rehash of like what Awakening did.
Right.
And I think people are hoping that like instead this time people will look at Three Houses, and like take lessons from it, but will not just like copy the entire format wholesale.
Right.
The thing I'm really interested in so far is hearing exactly how different the three routes are, or like how differently stuff is put into context.
Yeah, we've been
depending on who you're hanging out with. We've been comparing notes.
Yeah, because Iro, I mean, you basically picked Blue Lions just because G and I had already picked the other two, right? Just so we can kind of compare notes, right? So
like, it was interesting for me to like go through early.
Yeah.
It was early for me to go through interesting for me to go through like early story missions where I'm like, is this the same story missions you guys had? Because my character, like the people in my house, have a very personal stake in some of these missions.
Yeah,
the person is directly related to this person. You got the same mission.
It is interesting. I mean, I think that's actually another area where Three Houses succeeds, whereas like Fates was widely criticized especially because of its Pokemon format of like Fates Conquest or Fates Birthright or whatever, and then you had Fates Revelations, which was like the third true route, and like
where everybody gets to team up for common good or whatever.
Yeah, and like I think Three Houses makes the right choice of like combining all three of those, like of the three possible factions and routes into one game. I think that makes it. I think in general that's just a much like more consumer friendly move. I think that encourages players to do multiple routes, whereas like with the Pokemon format, you pick Birthright, you pick Conquest, like you don't really choose the other because that's another full-priced video game.
Right.
And I think that for me personally, like I'm enjoying this game so much that like I don't know if I have 3 full playthroughs of this game in me. I'm not sure about that, but I do think I will probably play because I hear the New Game Plus like mode does do a lot of stuff to make the early parts of the game go by much faster. I could see myself doing at least maybe a second route eventually.
Yeah.
And I would not have done that if that was like $20 DLC, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I was just kind of curious. I would want to know like how much more content you're going to see playing the other routes to know if it's going to be worth me investing another 50 hours of my time in.
Right.
Which I don't want to know right now because I don't want to spoil anything. But once I get through this playthrough, I'll probably look more into that. But that has led to some interesting conversations between the three of us.
Right, like I think I asked you guys, like I got some character revelation spoiler that was told to me by one of the characters, and I was like, that was related to some stuff in the other houses, and I was just like, did either of you hear this? And you're both like, no.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting.
We did all still get the same cutscene for that ball dance, though.
Yes,
I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet, so
that makes me extremely happy. As a Golden Deers player, I had just assumed that they had made 3 versions of that cutscene with each house leader.
Stupid sexy Claude winking at me.
Yes, which just
continues very attractive. It's true
to prove that like everybody's like, oh, Dimitri, what a hottie, but actually, I think everybody's sleeping on Claude.
No, everybody everybody wants to sleep with Claude, maybe, but I'm thinking
no, you didn't let me finish.
Yeah,
I was about to say, but I think give it a week or so, and everyone's going to be sleeping on Claude. If you get my meaning,
I stole your joke there. I'm sorry.
You stole my. Yes. Claude's great. I initially did not think I was gonna like his like, more like lighthearted like personality, but it works well for his arc and like the kind of like story that Golden Deer is going in.
One more question, and then we got to move on to anime stuff. Yes. Chris, what difficulty are you playing on?
It is the permadeath, but normal, whatever that translates to.
Okay, interesting. Sure. So normal, casual, right? And then
that sounds right.
Yeah, and then
I think it's normal and hard, and then classic and casual.
Right. And G, you're playing hard, and you're playing classic as well, or
I'm actually playing hard casual. So,
okay, so you're playing hard casual, and Chris is playing normal classic.
Yes, because I want the tactical challenge, or more of a tactical challenge from the game. But I also recognize that I'm a wimp and I can't bear to watch my precious students die. So
yeah,
I think we're both doing casual normal.
Me and Ira are both doing casual normal because I'm kind of regretting picking.
I fucking can't be asked to actually.
Yeah,
actually,
because I know I definitely don't want the permadeath, but I'm kind of regretting picking normal because it feels like
I think that game's really easy.
I have right now. I don't know if this would change on hard, but Edelgard is an invincible axe murder machine and has not taken damage in the past 10 battles.
I mean, I think my understanding is that all three of the lords, given enough levels, eventually go in that direction. Just
yeah. So
I just did the penultimate battle, and my entire team just wiped the floor with the opposing army. So
yeah.
I would probably recommend hard mode.
Yeah, if I would still keep on casual because I don't want to mess with the permadeath stuff. Although even that, because we were talking about this before, is kind of mitigated a bit with the divine pulses.
Yes.
So I just as one more thing to the game's credit, I feel like they found a variety of ways for people to play it that everybody's going to enjoy it one way or the other, right? If you really want a challenge, they you can make it challenging, and they started that in Awakening when they took the permadeath out, right? But I feel like this has even more control over how you want to play it.
Yeah, I think generally the more options here is working out for Fire Emblem. If you want to do hard classic, reset the mission every time somebody dies, you are totally free to do that.
Right.
But I think the Divine Pulse is good because here's the thing. Every old school Fire Emblem player in the goddamn universe will admit, in the old GBA games and even older Fire Emblem games, if you lost a character, you just reset the whole map.
Yep.
You would, because you don't want to lose anybody.
Yep.
And so the Divine Pulse is a good limited way to
save you the time.
Save you that time. Basically, because here's the thing, you're gonna replay that whole map.
Right.
You're gonna get to the exact same spot anyway. So you might as well just because here's the thing, the AI in Fire Emblem is not that complex. You make the same moves in the same map.
Yeah.
The AI is going to do roughly the exact same thing, so you might as well just go back a turn or two.
We know you're going to do it, so let's just give you the tool to save you the extra 20 minutes.
Yes, because here's the thing: old school Fire Emblems could easily be as long as 3 houses, but that's because you spent all that time setting maps to
I'm thinking of there was one map on the GB. I didn't play. I forget which GBA one I played. It was the first one I think that came out in America. But
with
Hector, yeah, and I just remember one specific battle where you had the ambush appear out of nowhere from the spawn point, so they just destroy your back line, and I was I think I turned off the game for a month after that.
Those games could get pretty fucking
so I don't want to relive that, and they've put in but if that's how you want to play, that's that's there. So
totally,
all right, so good game. Go check that out.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot.
Same here.
Let's get to some anime.
So sure, I guess we could do that too.
Well, assuming Fire Emblem is not anime, when in reality it is. But so we'll probably rotate around shows we want to talk about. But I wanted to add in
Speaking of anime trash,
yeah, I wanted to add in a lightning round of the anime trash that I'm watching, and just give a very quick rundown of what's going on with these shows. So we'll start with the Ones Within. That was the YouTube Let's Player survival horror show, if anybody forgot, because it has the most generic title ever and nobody's watching it. But of course, I was watching that because of the absolutely bizarre first 3 episodes, and they kind of let me down in episode 4 with what was, by this show's standards, a pretty conventional story. They go to like this medieval Japanese village setting where they have to sacrifice a young maiden to the demons in the woods so the village can be saved. And our heroes come in.
As you do.
Our heroes come in to help, but surprise twist, the old man and his granddaughter that invited them are actually the demons, and they get kidnapped. And for some reason, they thought this was important enough to make 2 episodes, which the second one's going to air tomorrow, so I don't know what happens yet. So by this show's standards, I was like, yeah, that's a pretty boring conventional plot line here. I need to see more out of that.
I mean, so that's a thing, right? Like, is this a show that you think is still worth keeping with? I mean, for like your entertainment purposes.
We'll see. I mean, I'm already on episode 5 at this point, so I'm already almost halfway, which is great.
I guess. But, you.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of there's other stuff going on in the background, like with like the characters and stuff that they're trying to work on their relationships. Like, I kind of like that it's like an ensemble, like it's an ensemble cast, and like. I like shows where like the cast is not the end. The cast is not the enemy. Like, it's not a lot of fighting between themselves. It's like them trying to figure out how to beat the real enemy type of thing.
Okay.
So I mean, it's fine in that regard, but I do want to see more like crazy stuff, like hatching a panda bear schoolgirl out of an egg. And
I am still thinking about that.
Still see that in my sleep sometimes. So, yeah. So moving along, I'm still watching Given, which is not trash. I just lumped it in here because I'm the only one watching it.
Given is which one again?
This is the Boys Love Band anime.
Yes.
And
did he learn what a band is yet?
So, it's
finally.
I feel like, I don't know if it's been getting better or I've just adjusted my expectations or whatever, but I feel like there's been less of the main guy being an airheaded idiot and more of like progress in the story and stuff. But there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on. Like, you have like the band stuff, which I love. As you know, he's learning to play guitar, and they find out that he sings like an angel, and they're kind of arranging, setting up the band, feeling each other out, getting equipment stuff. Like they had in the latest episode, like you can tell the author plays guitar and like knows how bands work and stuff. Cause like they had one moment where the guy, it's like the first time he ever plugs in and uses overdrive on his guitar, and like the magic of that feeling is like,
I can honestly say I don't even know what that is.
Normally when your guitar, even an electric guitar, when you plug it into an amp, it just sounds like clean and nice and pretty. But when you click overdrive, that's when you get the crunchy distortion sound for like rock music. And
okay.
I thought it was when you tilt your plastic guitar up.
No, that's star power.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that is a very magical feeling if you've ever experienced that, and they kind of made sure to add that in. So stuff like that is neat. You've got I like the relationship between the 2 main guys, which is like the slowest burn romance ever, but it's like this, very slow building type of relationship with the other guy, who's kind of like the more relatable main character that I talked about, is like just like this really genuinely nice guy. There's no like, he doesn't try to like hide it or anything. He's not like a tsundere or something. Like, he's like legitimately a nice person and trying to help this like airhead dude. And they've been diving into the airhead dude's like tragic backstory. Like, he found some old.
Oh boy!
They haven't really told us much other than like one of his old friends ran into him and was like, "What? You're playing music?" And they don't give any other context.
Oh no!
And then this episode ended with the girl. This girl in the airhead guy's class that likes him is jealous that he's hanging out with this other dude. And
no.
Start talking about she her friend is like, I heard rumors about that guy that imply that, maybe he's gay or something like that. So they're moving in that direction too. And I guess icing on the cake, they have their cool senpais in the band. So that they kind of get their own little sub stories. But maybe the real reason I'm actually watching is the one guy has a hot older sister too. But
sure.
So there's a lot.
You should have just led with that joke.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and I feel like they're like the first maybe one or two episodes. I didn't feel like it was like well written and put together, but it kind of feels like they're stabilizing and putting it together better now. So I'm kind of enjoying it now. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then finally.
Are you still watching?
Against my better judgment, I went back and watched more of the Do You Love Your Mom and her 2-hit multi-target attacks.
Do you still love your mom?
So,
I thought mom used swords and not gauntlet weapons.
She does. Yes. It took me a second to unravel that joke, Iro, but I get it. So I was like ready to bail on episode 2 because they went into some extremely gross the extremely gross slime scene bit, and they've balanced the scales back out where there's not really any of that happening. I guess they got it out of their system or whatever.
I mean, is that just for now?
They had like a bath scene in episode 3, but what anime comedy doesn't have a bath scene? And then
fair enough.
Episode 4 did not have like any fan service, but instead they've been setting up for the first arc a showdown with one of the party members' moms. So I guess in this game, like everybody's mom is here.
Wait, what?
The whole point of the game is like it's designed to have kids like make up with their moms if they're not getting along or something.
There is some that is. I need to read the gamesindustry.biz article with the lead developer of this MMO.
It's just in beta right now, G. We're not sure if this is going to work out.
I have some questions about like the ideologies and thoughts of whoever created this video game.
Yeah, whereas the main guy and his mom, he just kind of acts like a brat sometime, and they make up. One of his party members have bigger issues with their mom, and so her mom has gone off the deep end and has turned into like a villain. But the problem is she's also like super overpowered, just like main mom. So this sets us up for like a overpowered mom showdown in episode 4. Which
I cannot even believe what I am hearing from you right now.
Which is about as ridiculous as it sounds, because the evil mom walks around or moves around carried by a throne of half-naked and muscular NPC men, and
Fire Force.
And yes, she's more magic spect, so they have like a showdown in episode 4, and it's mildly entertaining, I suppose. So
I look forward to your blog post after episode 6 that says, "Why did I keep watching this?"
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before we get another.
I don't know, man. Jill, I gotta be real with you. I think you're already you are already in the like danger zone.
Oh yes, I'm well aware.
You are too into or you're too like. Not, I don't mean like you are into the anime, but you are watched too much of the anime to like effectively pull out now. Like we've all seen this time and time again. You know?
Yeah, I'm in too deep now, probably.
Like, there's a reason the 3-episode rule exists, because you can pull out by 3rd episode, you know? Like, once you get to, like, 6th or 7th, like, your fucking brain's just subconscious, like, justification, like, protocols start to activate.
Yeah, we're on 4 now, so I'm past the threshold. Yes. So, I'll see you all in hell, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so let's move on to shows that other people have watched. Actually, have Chris, you've been watching O Maidens in Your Savage Season, right?
I have.
Okay, so we've both been keeping up with that. I don't. Gee, you stopped watching, right?
I confess I must stop. Yes, yeah. And I think I made it pretty clear, why I did, last podcast. It's just it's a lot for a lot of the same reasons I stopped reading the manga as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm still watching with the Zig and Aqua guys.
Okay, Ira, you're still watching. Okay, are you caught up?
I don't know if I've seen this week's episode, but
okay, because they're all the way up to 5 now on that one. Yeah, broadly, I would say the show's been good. It feels like, to me, several different animes mashed into one. Like any of the, like any of the girls could like be spun off into their own like story or something. Well, maybe some of them wouldn't be able to carry, but like you've got. I still haven't memorized all their names other than Kazusa, the main girl, who's.
I mean, you can just describe them based on like their archetypes.
Yeah,
I think everybody would
have
understand.
we had her, being the most down to earth, I guess, relatable type of story where she's got her thing going on with her childhood friend and figuring that all out. You had the glasses girl who is no longer glasses girl now, and in the I've taken off my glasses and I'm now hot plot line.
Oh, you mean Sonozaki?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I wrote the name down. I didn't remember either.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember any of the names, but so she's got that thing going, and I guess she's now has a boyfriend. But then and then you have the blonde girl, and they kind of dove into her story in episode 5, which may be more problematic than the.
Have they got into the child actress stuff?
Yeah, her pedophile.
We've got to the point where, it's Crunchyroll actually subtitling it as pedophile rather than lolicon, which says a lot. I think.
Did the director guy give his speech yet? About. I haven't watched the anime, so
it's something about how when she grows up, he's not going to be interested in her anymore.
Yeah, okay, that's a speech I was talking about. Yo, that's
yeah.
Mario Kata. I think she is a writer that is worthy of being talked about, but there's some shit in this fucking story that I don't know how I feel about because obviously that dude is portrayed in a poor light, but then
So
what's her face kind of builds her personality around lot of what he told her, and it's
because I mean he's he's a pedophile. That's what they call it in the Crunchyroll subs. Yes. I did find that interesting that they chose to translate lolicon that way, but I have no argument over that one. They make it a point for her to say that he never touched her, but that he's clearly emotionally manipulated her, right? That's what you're.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally says that after I think she's 14 when she says this in a flashback. She says, why won't you touch me? And he replies, because if I do, you will no longer be a little girl. Not that there's something completely horrendously wrong with this.
Yeah. That is, that's the thing. That is such a myopic, weirdly, almost excusing, explanation of a pedophile. Oh, this is one of the good pedophiles who doesn't touch kids. It's
yeah. I think so. My take on that, I don't think they're trying to make him sympathetic. I think they're trying to. I think they're trying to build the edge a little bit off of the situation, right? Because but which is kind of unusual for the show, I guess, but maybe they just didn't want to take it that far. But I guess my take on, and this has been the case with her character since day one, obviously he's not portrayed in a good light or as a sympathetic character. It's not and I hate when anime comedies do this, when they have the joke pedophile character or whatever, it's haha funny. But so it's definitely not that, but I guess it's also not portrayed as I don't know, a tragic situation or something. It's almost, I think what they're going for, and I don't know if they hit the mark, is this is the kind of stuff that girls have to put up with, right? I think that's kind of the message they're getting across, and the way they're handling it is a little weird.
I will say that it's interesting that the two characters, both the girl and the dude that she's talking to, the childhood friend, call out explicitly at the time the story is being told that this guy is a pedophile creeper. Like they're not just. I mean, she kind of does try to excuse his actions a little bit, but it does at least call it out. It's not just this guy's a bit kooky and weird, but
because we see she's still in some ways seeking validation from him with what she does in the episode, but you can write that off as like he has, emotionally manipulated her as a child, right? Like, and she is still a child. I think I can see what they're going for. That's a very dangerous game to play, I guess.
Yes.
It's also like when you're comparing this to it goes back to your other point about this being a bunch of different stories, because you've got a cliche-ass relationship with childhood friends that don't realize they fancy each other, and you've got Glasses girl that takes her glasses off and has a boyfriend now, versus the dude that groomed a child and the kid who's attempting to date,
and then the writer story.
Yes, have you introduced they've introduced the teacher,
yes,
I assume, who their like student or their club counselor. It's
we got a little that one's might be even more
this. I'm not gonna say anything. The story fucking takes some directions. It's
this is like the show is really good in the bits in which it is really good, but it is not a show that I think I can really recommend.
I think the charitable take that you guys have been talking about is I think Mario Okada is trying to like get into like how messy sexual relationships can be when you are growing up, when you are in that uncomfortable position where you are, again, we're all dudes, so can't really speak here with any expertise, but the idea of like you are maturing physically, but like, you are still young, but like society is already beginning to expect like a certain type of like sexual maturity from
and trying to take advantage of you, like from
yes
immediately.
And I think Mario Okada is trying to get into that. I think that it's just again, I don't know if the anime does things slightly different from the manga, but like it's a hard message to pull off.
I think
it takes a really good writer to pull that stuff off.
I think I have a bigger problem with the teacher plot line because they're not really making a statement on it that, hey, this is not okay. And I don't know exactly what they're trying to accomplish with it, because I don't think they're trying to say it's good either. It's just like maybe I just need to see more where they're going with it. But
I feel like particularly episode 5, like from episode 1 from when he shows up to 4, he's like pretty adamant about telling the girl that he has no interest in kids, and he's not first time he finds that he's been talking to a kid, he just bails, which is obviously the correct decision, but
yes.
So we're getting to the point now where episode 5, he's like, well, if you want to get a bit, sexual, then flash your panties at me. It's like,
because I think the intent of that vibe is like, oh, he's trying to like,
scare her away,
like scare her away, but it's like, I'm gonna scare her away by like kind of sexually harassing her, which is like, I don't know about that.
I think it's right. I don't think he was expecting her to try to go through with it. The problem was in episode 5, she attempts to do it, and they imply that it was catching his attention now. And that's
right, because now she's acting, quote unquote, sexually mature.
I think when he said it, he probably wasn't expecting her to do it, and then but once she attempts to do it, and she doesn't actually go through with it, I guess. But even the attempt was like they zoom in on his eye, like focusing on her skirt,
he also says like explicitly, you're gonna have to do things like this because I don't want there to be a connection between the two of us, because he's worried about his job.
Right,
like,
and
he's obviously put enough thought into it.
Job, then this is the wrong thing to do, right?
Yeah.
That's also a problem. So, I don't know. I don't think they're trying to say that this is a good situation, but I don't think they're doing a good job of depicting that or like
again, I think it's just it's a really tough and messy subject to tackle.
Right, it's a dangerous area to go into, and they might be setting some minds off walking through the minefield.
I just want them to take all of the Glasses Girl content into its own thing, or just an OVA with no one else in it, so I can recommend people watch that and not the rest of this.
Has she actually told the kid to write an essay yet?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I
like that.
That plotline's been pretty cute.
Yeah.
So
that's the weird thing, right? It totally is like that storyline is like so like totally divorced from
right. Yeah, and that's why I was saying like in the beginning, it almost feels like you could split these up into like different shows or whatever. But I mean, I guess like they're going for everybody's experience is going to be different, right?
Yeah. Oh, Maidens in your Savage Season 5 houses.
which one will you choose? We didn't even talk about the fifth girl who hasn't really done much yet. Should that one like
the best friend one?
Yeah, should the one.
She the one who is probably a lesbian.
Yeah, probably.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. After
she did go on, so she went on a date with a guy and is like, I hate this guy, but I don't know.
She certainly gives off that vibe.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure where they're going. She was very enthusiastic about the how pretty the blonde girl is, though.
Right.
All right. So I mean, it's a very interesting show. I will continue watching it.
Totally.
It's just I don't know how I feel about it yet.
I can't recommend a show with a creepy pedophile Gendos in it.
You mean
it's probably
I would say use some like redundant descriptors in there, but
yeah.
Well, sure, fair.
All right, let's get back to axe murder. I guess let's move on to
axe murder.
Sure,
Vinland Saga.
Oh yeah, sure, yes.
Does that make more sense now, G?
Although Thor seems to be using more fist weapons than whatever else.
I'm sorry, I had an old version of the notes up, so I was expecting something different. But yeah, Vinland Saga. It came back after 3 weeks. Yeah,
it finally came back, I guess.
Yes. I guess as the person here who's read the manga, or Chris, have you read Vinland Saga?
No, this is my first time watching it.
Okay. Yeah, I think what studio is actually doing a really great job with the adaptation so far. Like again, I said last time it's a little weird, like what plot line they're leading off with in the anime, but I think they did a really good job with it. I think it's a solid adaptation. It does the things that an adaptation should do, of like kind of like taking the best parts of that story and putting them to motion, putting them to color, giving it sound and music. I hadn't read this part of Vinland Saga in a while, and I don't mean to like hype it up too much, but I kind of had some chills watching this episode. I forgot like how emotionally powerful like parts of this fourth episode are. As we kind of said before, a lot of the main themes of Vinland Saga are kind of like the struggle to escape like this like deeply toxic cycle of like violence and revenge, and like the toll it asks of the people who attempt to do something that difficult, especially in a time period that violent. And that said, I'm not going to try and act like I'm too fucking smart for this show. There's also just a lot of really good axe murder. Well, fights, Viking-based violence in this episode.
Right.
Which was also...
It's kind of a problem I'm running up against, is that it the tonal shift between like the cycle of violence and murder, and then I'll uppercut a guy and he'll fly 30 feet, or like...
Violence is bad. Look at this cool way I just murdered this guy.
Right.
I mean, come on, guys. This has been an aspect of fucking anime since day goddamn one, all right? Like people,
Yeah,
war is bad, but also the robots are cool. Like, we cannot deny these two disparate elements.
There are levels to this, though, right? Like...
Yes. I mean, I do agree.
It is strange seeing it try to play the give a real historical feeling, and then you've got like protag jumping across boats, and and like punching people through the air, but at the same time, it's rad, so I don't care.
That's that. I think that is the right take.
Ultimately, what it
approach.
comes down to, yeah.
Yes. The next part of Vinland Saga we're going to get into in this anime, I think, based on what I suspect the order is going to be, is in all fairness going to kind of lean back into the Viking violence stuff. But I do think that because they've done such a good job with like showing the emotional arc of Thorfinn's character, but basically showing in this kind of prologue like what trauma, what is the trauma that drives him to become who he is. I think it will make a lot of what happens next like thematically appropriate. So
G, did they skip anything, or they're still playing it pretty straight?
Not. I mean, I don't know if they are going to skip anything. They haven't yet. It's more like it's basically more like the anime starts in like chapter 20, or the anime is starting where chapter 20 is in the manga.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, did they start because they skipped the first 19 chapters then, or did they like?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. There's still they can still return back to those first chapters if that's where they lead into next. I think
like the manga like starts in the quote-unquote present day and then flashes back, right?
Yes, it does. It does the Berserk thing of starts in media res and then does the flashback.
Okay, so they started in the flashback and they may come back.
Yes,
so they probably will have to then come back to present day at some point, right?
Yes, that is my assumption.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's give a shout out to the Waiver Show, or
yes,
Lord
L. Melloi II, Case Files, Rail Zeppelin, Grace Note.
Fucking.
What kind of crazy antics did Waiver get up to?
He solved the mystery.
I
don't really understand how or what it was, but he solved it.
Yeah.
Of course, this whole house is a fairy machine.
Because it's
whatever
like a fountain field or something, and they're using Will's mystic eyes as a catalyst to summon artificial fairies.
It doesn't make any this was the position I think I'm on tape as saying I was going to take this show, of just letting it wash over me because I know it's going to be bullshit. And lo and behold, it's bullshit, and I'm letting it wash over me.
But it is deeply, deeply entertaining bullshit, I will say. At least to me. As somebody with not as strong of an emotional investment in the Fate universe, I am just lapping up this show. It is ridiculous and absurd. Fucking Waiver is like the shittiest fictional detective in the universe because he doesn't actually do any detective work. He just looks at the scene, says he solved it, and then meanders for an episode or two until he actually tells everybody what he's actually solved. And you're just like, sure, whatever. Like, I can believe that you somehow fucking arrived at this Leighton-esque conclusion despite doing none of the like legwork to arrive there. Just the power of common sense and access to the internet apparently is all L. Melloi II needs to solve the mystery. And
yeah, it's just really still, I don't know, like
it's yes.
What was the premise of the mystery on the last one? Like, what kind of crazy? Like, that's what kind of interests me. Like, what kind of ridiculous?
Like, somebody called him to his old family home because people keep dying there, and they get struck by lightning.
Yes.
And come solve this mystery for why people keep getting struck by lightning at my house.
Yes, and then other wizards are there from other classes, like other like majors of the mage school,
yeah, sure. Like other divisions.
Yeah, and they're like, "What's the upstart Waiver doing here?" And Waiver is like, "I've solved the case."
Well, you see, something they're obsessed with the fairies or something, and so they use people's human sacrifices to summon fairies, or something like that.
I don't think Iroh or I could actually give an adequate explanation of what the actual mystery in these last two
show probably doesn't
were.
give you an adequate explanation.
It really doesn't.
And
but
it's not really
a
important.
lot of fun.
It's really not.
Yeah.
There's a man there with a shotgun that can kill ghosts.
It's been sort of like, hey, remember this character from that spin-off? They're here.
Yes, I will say in all fairness to the show, I am pretty happy with how it's going because like there's definitely like the version of this show that is the absolute worst. You know, we kind of live in this post Fate Go universe, and like they could have totally like just turned the Waver show into a vehicle for Fate Go cameos, and I'm very glad they have not done that. Like this is a very like self-contained, like completely up its own ass like Fate universe spinoff that is largely about Waver Velvet and the dumbass wizard adventures.
You still get like the Type Moon Easter egg and cameos, though, right? Like,
totally. Yes, yes. I mean,
have they gone to deeper cuts than what's her name than Luvia at this point?
Some people from Apocrypha have shown up.
Okay.
Yeah. But since this is an alternate universe, they're not the same, or they don't do the things they did in Apocrypha or whatever.
Correct.
So I'm just a regular traveling necromancer with a ghost-killing shotgun.
Sunglasses and a leather jacket. Just
yes. What, dude? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's great. I fucking love him.
He's one of the less bad characters from Apocrypha.
He's literally just like, he has no reason to even be here. He's just like, I was investigating the crypt because I'm a necromancer, and I got swept up into this locked room mystery. And that's another thing. They're all fucking locked room mysteries. The next arc, they explain, and what is single-handedly one of the best lines in the season of anime, where Waver says, "Ah, yes, the rail Zeppelin. You mean the phantom train that buys and sells mystic eyes on the black market?" Is
that's
already setting us up for the next fucking ridiculous mystery that needs to be solved.
Finally, the eponymous rail Zeppelin has made an appearance and only took 5 fucking episodes.
Yeah. I don't
know.
One last
Go ahead.
One last note. I saw I think I saw they announced they're already making a figure of his Saberface assistant.
So
would.
We get the Shoethorn Saber in here somehow.
Yeah. You can't make a saber without creating an expensive figure of it.
Yeah, we can't. No, we don't get
our
our
fucking God Eater cosplay.
Yeah, instead of the cranky adult Waver figure we truly deserve.
They'll probably make one of those too. I
don't know.
All right,
it's not sexy enough.
I think Waver has a fan base, right?
Sure,
Waver has a charm to him.
Yeah.
Speaking of anime bullshit.
All right, so let's finish things up by talking about Granbelm, because you guys have been pretty hyped about the latest episode.
Oh my god,
Granbelm's alright.
This show's alright.
Fill us in on what happened here.
So, did we run down the basic premise of Granbelm in a previous podcast?
We did on the last one. It's
magical girl mecha battle royale.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. It's Fate Stay Night cross Madoka cross G Gundam.
That's a hell of a sentence, but yes.
Yes.
So what happened that's got you guys so hyped in the?
So they introduced the Chinese representative in Granbelm. The descendant of the feng shui master Lin Fen.
Sure.
Who uses the long range sniping mech Ji Guanlong with support outside of the magical world with her sisters running the simulation.
They're just like in their room with laptops in the real world.
Yep, literally just running the calculations. Yes, running the numbers. And anyway, so
she's tired of just hiding while everyone else fights.
Oh man, like this. Here's the thing. I don't want to make the show sound like too fucking deep or nuanced or anything, but like because it's just like this 5th episode is like literally just like almost 18 minutes straight of robot fighting. Like
the mech choreography is actually pretty good, right?
It's really good in this anime. Yeah, like this might actually we were joking about this. This might actually be one of the best mecha anime I've seen.
Record show and season preview podcast where I was like, I've been keeping an eye on this one for a while.
Yes, Eero, you have the right to claim that you saw the writing on the wall for this one.
Go ahead and flex. You did call this.
Yes. I will continue to maintain that, like, the only reason I was not looking for the Granbelm is because it is the job of every proper mecha fan to be deeply skeptical of any original mecha show, because more often than not, they usually take the Darling in the Franxx or I'll know a Zero route. So,
sure,
you know, you can forgive me for being a little skeptical. But yeah, the show, like, the fight is really good. It's really well choreographed. It's flashy. Like, there's no, like, corner cutting. There's no, like, you know, weird, like, quality issues. Like, it's well, like, it does the thing I think that, like, good mecha shows do, which is, like, even when you know a character is going to lose, you let them go out. You let them go down swinging. You let them bust out. It's like a good wrestling match. They get to bust out their finisher, their signature move. They get to do everything cool before they go out. So, like, you know that, like, they went out, like, at the peak of their power,
right.
And
it takes, like,
it feels
takes the main character, like, some heroic effort to.
Yeah, it feels earned, right. And, like, I'm not going to call this, like, deep storytelling, but, like, so, like, the kind of the focus of this episode and last episode is, as Iro said, it's her name is Nene. She is, yes, the daughter of one of the prior competitors in the Granbelm, and has inherited her mother's Arminox. That's the name for the mechs. Jiguan Long, which, yeah, as Iro said, specializes in, like, sniping and information warfare. And there's this whole, like, subplot about, like, how, like, Nene fights in the Granbelm because, like, she wants to, like, connect to her mother again, about how, like, she wants to, like, inherit, like, her mother's legacy. Like the whole vibe of Granbelm is that every person here is fighting because of some connection to their legacy as a mage. You know, one is fighting for her, like, comatose sister. Another one is fighting because she thinks that another competitor has stolen her family and is turned into a raging psychopath as a result. It's really entertaining. And so for Nene, she inherits Jiguan Long, and, like, this is kind of like kind of like undercurrent of, like, she is, like, kind of rubbing up against Jiguan Long's specialty, because she herself is not the quiet sniping type. You know, she has inherited her mother's mech, but she is not her mother. But she feels a pressure to be her mother. Right. And it kind of culminates in, like, three characters, two of the main characters, Mangetsu and Shingetsu, and then a third combatant have agreed to team up to take down Jiguan Long because its sniping abilities are too dangerous. And, like, Nene's sisters are like Nene, you gotta lie low. Like, you're not built for, like, a 1-on-3. Like, they're gonna close the distance. And she's just like, no, I am a mage. Like, I will not cower and hide. And she fucking, in the real world, goes up to them, is like, my name is Nene, I am the daughter of Master Feng Shui, Master Lin Fen Fen, prior combatant in the Granbelm, and I am the current pilot of Jiguan Long, and I will face you in the battlefield. And oh man, and the fight is so good. Like, it's like it truly feels like a battle royale because everybody's, like, facing off each other. It's originally a 3v1, but the three kind of forget that there's, like, two other competitors in this fight, and they kind of interrupt the fight, so it turns into 3 sets of 1v1s. And, like, the main character, Mangetsu, she and her special mech Lily White managed to close the distance against Jiguan Long, and Jiguan Long's got, like, a cloaking device. And, like, her sister's like, Nene, please, like, stay hidden. Like, if you stay hidden long enough until the timer passes, we'll survive the fight another day. And she's like, no. Like, I will face her. Fucking uncloaks. And then, like...
So should we know Jiguan Long is just, like... The rest are all, like, SD actual mechs. Yes. But Jiguan Long is just, like, a floating dragon head.
Yes, with, like, a laser cannon.
But like, it fucking transforms into, like, the Devil Gundam from G Gundam.
Yes, like literally. So the whole like that's what I mean by the storytelling being told through fights, right? When Nene is in her sniping mode, she is crouched over. She is sitting down with a cloak on her, and, like, she is, like, hunched like a sniper. When she faces Mangetsu in open combat, she stands up and tosses her cloak aside, and Jiguan Long also stands up and becomes Jiguan Long combat form or something. Jiguan Long true form, Jiguan Long Nene version, fucking Jiguan Long Nene ideation form. Fucking yes, as Iro said, turns into the Devil Gundam. It's literally the Devil Gundam. The dragon head becomes the base, and the full version of Jiguan Long sprouts out of the back, and it starts doing kung fu, and it starts kung fuing the shit out of Mangetsu and Lily White. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, it's such a good fight. and you're like, oh man, like how's Mangetsu gonna turn this around? And it turns out
unlocking her evil super mode.
Yes, Mangetsu unlocks Lily White's hidden Satsui no Hado and becomes fucking Lily Black.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Demon eyes opened out of its fucking shoulder pads like fucking Nightmare from Soul Calibur.
It's already good. That's real good.
Its sword becomes a glowing black, and it's this really good moment where like all of these other like mages are fighting for like these really kind of pseudo lofty or personal reasons, and like. During Mangetsu's like, oh, I'm about to lose like mental like thing. The thing she gets worried about is that she admits, oh, she's petty. She doesn't actually care about this fight. The reason she keeps fighting is because before the Granbelm, she was a nobody. There was nothing special about her.
But now I'm a cool mage.
Yes, and she doesn't want to lose it anymore. She doesn't want to lose the one thing in her life that has finally made her feel special. So she submits to her dark impulses and fucking. Her eyes light up, and the sigil of Lily White appears in the pupils, and fucking she does the like straight up like Saber Fate's Day Night Excalibur, except it's a dark blade of blackness, and fucking just brings it down. It's like a mile long. Fucking just cuts Jiguan Long in half, and like you see the shot like Nene's pilot just standing there, fucking slack jawed. She's just like wordless, like she just says. Oh, that's the power of Lily White, and is.
I'm glad you're having fun, G.
And it's so fun. It's so fantastic.
fun. It's just very like broad, silly, fun stuff. I don't know.
Nene was robbed. Jiguan Long is my favorite mech in this show. I will dearly miss her from this battle royale.
They do get permanently knocked out when they.
Yes, when you lose for good. So the idea is like there's like this weird like meta element of like
you got to give them all their episode. Is that?
Yeah. Well, it's also like the meta element of it is like you don't necessarily have to have a loser each round. Like if all the fighters survive until the moon like goes down again, like the battle just restarts next full moon.
Right.
So, like, you know, there is this kind of element of, like, oh, if you can hide or survive long enough, you could survive to the next round. But, yes, they are starting to knock people out of this fight. Again, it's like, yeah, like, I think Nene and Jiguan Long were definitely my favorite pairing, like, favorite, like, mech pilot pairing in this show, but, like...
You say that, but you're always standing Anafugo.
Dude, Anafugo is the bitch queen of the universe.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned her last time, too.
That woman is pure, is fueled by pure spite for another one of the main characters. Like, she does not care. She does not care about who wins. She does not care about what anybody else on the battlefield is doing. She is just here to fuck up Ernesta Shingetsu. And it's so satisfying. These characters are not, again, they're not like that complex or nuanced. They're very broad anime archetypes, but they are like really fun in their execution and in the.
It's like the writer of the show also wrote "Place Further Than the Universe." Yeah. So you can do like quick, broad, but still enjoyable like character writing.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to say real quick in the fucking next episode preview. We have said up till now like Fate.
Worth noting, this is an all-female cast, but then the next episode previews have like an old man narrating.
Yes,
it's a little weird.
But I was gonna say like so this mecha battle royale takes place in like a fucking a magical alternate dimension that only comes up during the full moon that only mages and those of mage lineage can see.
Right,
and we've asked the question up till now, why hasn't anybody just gone after the mages,
in real life?
Not in their mechs? And next episode preview, we don't know what's going on. All I know is that the character I just mentioned, Anafugo, is seen fucking swinging an axe with murder on her face.
In the real world.
Yes, in the real world. I don't know the context yet, but I cannot wait to see where that fucking goes.
It always comes back to axe murder.
Oh yes, somehow it always does.
All right,
but yeah,
that sounds like a lot of
really
fun.
Enjoying that show. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think the vibe we have talked about this season is that there's been nothing like exemplary. There is no. there are no like Rakugos or Megalo boxes or Erased or Maiden Abysses, but like as a season for just like really fun stuff, I have definitely been enjoying this season, just from a pure entertainment standpoint.
I don't think I'm going to watch Granbelm, but I hope for your sake it stays good, because I am very excited to hear you talk more about it.
Dude, I wish. Look, I'm not going to force you, Chris. I think more people should watch Granbelm. It's like getting critically panned, and it's doing horribly.
It's like the
pre-orders,
like hardcore mech
me really sad.
Like hardcore mech people are like, "Ugh, magical girls," and then the magical girl crowd are like, "Ugh, mechs." Right?
And it's such a shame because I think it's a like. I'm not trying to act like this is like fucking the next goddamn like whatever high profile anime, but like. It's just really good at what it's set out to do.
It sounds like it's kind of sad if there are mecha fans not watching it because of the aesthetic, which I could kind of see why that would raise some flags.
I think mecha fans are starting to turn around it, but it is taking it is slow.
The action choreography of it is like really good.
It sounds like it understands what people want to see in a robot fight, though, right?
Oh yeah,
so,
no. These people
have
know
lasers while shooting the head Vulcans and stuff. Like,
so
running into laser fire because I've got a shield.
Yes,
I can knock some of these away. It's I don't know. It's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Its sensibilities are very good.
Okay.
I smile while watching it because I'm having fun.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Hiro.
All right. Yes, I'm with Chris. I probably won't have time to watch it, but I will enjoy hearing you guys continue to fill us in on it.
It's the type of show where multiple times that episode I just went, oh shit! Like complete earnest.
I mean, that's
earnest.
That's having fun with it, right? So,
yeah.
All right. So I think that's gonna wrap up this episode then.
Yeah, we got to finish up, dog. I got the Evo stream going in the background, and Goichi is going up against Sonic Fox right now.
Okay, so real quick then, check us out at theglorioblog.com. Follow us at the Glorio Blog on Twitter. You can check out all of our other podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube. They're all on the same feed. So if you're listening on the feed now, you've already seen them, but go check those out. And that'll do till next time. Thanks, everybody.
All right, see you later.
Later.
「またない彼氏ってられない」「街に繰り出せよって